All right, let's call out the only 6 wide receiver sleepers you need to care about ahead of the 2025 fantasy football season. First, let's define what a sleeper is. For us, we are treating anyone selected after wide receiver 48 because the sickos in early best ball drafts already have 48 wide receivers in the top 88 overall picks, Hayden. So we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of room to actually call attention to some really, really good players.
Yeah, our definition of 120 plus in overall ADP would have been hard to find some names. So I like this way of doing it. It's like guys that are drafted to be on your bench that we can actually see the path to being every week starters. Let's say it's October all the way through the end of the season.
I always go back when we do these sleeper shows. By the way, we already posted a running backs one, soon in the channel, a tight ends and quarterbacks. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 150,000 before the start of the season. It's totally free to you. And our only goal is to help you win your fantasy leagues this year. Last year, 2 names that we called attention to, Darnell Mooney and Rashid Shaheed. So hoping to hit another 2 of these 6 names here today. And speaking of the 2024 season, I went back and looked at all the, let's say, relevant names or ones that would have hit as wide receiver 48 or drafted later. There were, I think, 3 or 4. Yeah, 4 names that were top 30 overall in scoring on a points per game basis. Courtland Sutton, Rashid Shaheed, Jerry Jeudy, and Adam Thielen. Which of those do you think was the highest score in points per game last year? Chat, let us know down in the comments which your guess is as well.
Well, per game wise, my immediate thought is Rashid Shaheed because he only played 6 of them. But man, Courtland Sutton down the stretch was awesome too. So those would be my 2 instincts.
It was freaking Adam Thielen once again. Wide receiver 23 in points per game. And yeah, Sutton was 29, Jerry Jeudy 26, attached to the brain escapes his body, Jameis Winston. And yeah, Shaheed was wide receiver 28. But again, Darnell Mooney popped up there as wide receiver 39 in points per game. Khalil Shakir popped up there as wide receiver 42 in points per game as well. Just overall, most of those teams finished top half or around 18 plus in terms of touchdowns per game on offenses. So I do think there is something more directly correlated to late wide receiver hits that are on good teams versus maybe running backs that can go on and own 70+% of their bad to below average teams too.
Yep. Yeah, and what you notice about that list is it's not just rookies out there either. There's older players, there's players changing teams, it's different profiles all throughout that mix. So it's not as simple as it used to be where you like literally only draft rookie wide receivers and they go all the way to the moon. Though we do get that on Yahoo and some of these other platforms, not so much on Underdog Fantasy. And by the way, I am drafting a sleeper wide receiver that we'll get to, by the way.
Yes, and I'm including rookies, just as you alluded to. In fact, why don't we start there? I think we each have a rookie wide receiver we want to call attention to. Who's up first for you?
Jaden Higgins, and he just makes this cutoff for us, but it makes sense. And I think that he's going to be a riser from this point all the way forward. Early indications from Houston Texans camp are already really positive. D'Amico Ryan said, quote, "It's been really exciting to see Jaden's growth process in a short amount of time, to see a rookie who's come in and showing right now that he can be an impact player for us. I think that means a lot." And going back pre-draft, where he went 34th overall, he actually reminded me of Michael Pittman in a lot of ways, who, by the way, was drafted 34th overall, has been a very consistent player throughout the years. 6'4", 214 pounds, 39-inch vertical, 4.4, 740. So he's not a complete blazer, but he is a really athletic player. Yards per route run against man coverage, 3.2. That's a great mark. 91 yards per game, 33% of his team's receiving yards. All this stuff really positive, all out of Iowa State. And to me, he's not going to be competing against Jalen Noel and Christian Kirk. Those are 2 slot guys. In fact, I was looking, Christian Kirk's nickname on the Texans right now is, quote, slot demon. That's what they're calling him. Love to hear that if you're Jaden Higgins, because in 2 wide receiver sets on the perimeter, most likely it's going to be Jaden Higgins, and CJ Stroud's more than good enough to at least have a pathway for Jaden Higgins to be a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 if this offense comes together.
You and I really liked Jaden Higgins' profile coming into the draft. I think maybe his viewpoint was scattered across draft analysts because he was almost a late riser during his final season there. He has nearly identical size to Nico Collins, but I don't see him as athletically overpowering as someone as how Nico Collins plays the game right now. But, you know, he is big, athletic, has really good tape. plenty of production on top of that, incredibly reliable hands, and one both outside and inside. It's interesting. This is an offense that I am really optimistic about moving away from Bobby Slowick to Nick Caley here. I know it kind of feels like musical chairs when it comes to their offensive linemen, but if I'm trying to interpret what they're attempting to do, it is get maybe too deep and then literally just try to figure out all these guys that have starting experience. If we can just piece together an average offensive line, that would be a step up from what they got last year. And again, I want to call attention to Nick Caley. I think he's a name that maybe 365 days from now, coming from the Patriots tight ends coach to the Rams coaching tree this past few seasons to now getting this team, another wide receiver, another pass catcher other than Nico Collins, I think is going to have at least a great stretch of the season. I would bet that would be Jaden Higgins, but at the same time, both Christian Kirk and even Jalen Noel would qualify as this wide receiver 48 or later in drafts right now.
I do mix in some Christian Kirk as well, just because I think he's most likely going to be the third starter and going to be the slot. And I think Jalen Noel, even though I really liked him pre-draft as well, he's probably the long-term answer. And he's a good handcuff. He can play inside or outside in a pinch. But Jaden Higgins is the cleanest path here. I think he has tons of upside. They drafted him nearly in the first round here, but does not get the same hype as a lot of these like late round one type of players. So yeah, if we get him locked in to two wide receiver sets throughout training camp, which is the trajectory he's on, he's going up 2-ish rounds on Underdog Fantasy. And yeah, I think that he has a great skill set to pair with CJ Stroud.
Do you wish you had included him as one of your names from June 1st to September 1st in terms of ADP risers?
Yeah, that would have been a nice call. But yeah.
I mean, he has awesome hands. The way he's able to just contort his body and catch away from his frame. And he's also attached to CJ Stroud, who is pinpoint accuracy. I will say, I don't think he's a perfect prospect. Like, he gets stuck in the mud a bit on his double moves, a little bit less so on his breaks, but there were multiple occasions where on his breaking routes, like college corners were able to chew up ground and then make some of those catches more contested than they should have been. But still, if they believe in him, I already believe in him as an individual. And I think the package together could be really, really fun. And they just maybe want to play with giants on the outside, you know?
Yep. Hopefully he's not like stopping and turning. It's just all these big post routes and go routes off of play action that we saw from CJ Stroud's rookie season, where that stuff doesn't really matter.
Okay, since you talked about a rookie, I'll do the same. Once again, I'm discussing Emeka Egbuka on this program. He's wide receiver 49, the sixth pick of the 8th round right now. He's being selected as the 4th rookie wide receiver off the board. We know T-Mac is wide receiver 21. Travis Hunter is wide receiver 28. Matthew Golden's even being selected ahead of Egbuka as wide receiver 42. I think I can attribute that to people getting burned by someone like JSN or Rome Odunze during their rookie seasons. You know, these were almost plug and play, we thought, prospects going into the NFL. But then JSN walked into a room with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Rome Odunze walked into a room with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, both finished in like the wide receiver 55 range. I will add, both played in offenses under Shane Waldron. That is not something that we have to be concerned with now in an offense here with Josh Grizzard. And I'll say the same thing. Like, the Bucs wide receivers are really talented. They've been doing it for a long time and been top fantasy scorers at their position. They also are just coming off a season where they combined to miss 171 dropbacks last year. Chris Godwin has played one full season since 2018. Mike Evans has had recurring hamstring issues in 4 straight seasons. And so we are getting almost certain the locked in wide receiver 3 in this offense. And whichever one, it doesn't matter which one does miss games. As soon as they do, Emeka Egbuka is going to enter into 2 wide receiver sets. He's already getting so much recognition of learning every single alignment on this offense. And if we're talking about finding sleepers, it's about being attached to great passing games. And I think the Bucs are able to sustain at least maybe 90% of what they did last year. And you're just getting that at a much more discount price in terms of other big time passing games out there.
He is one of my favorite players in the draft. I ranked my top 100 prospects. He was 13th overall. I liked him more than the public. He played a lot in the slot out Ohio State, but I think that he can play more on the perimeter. He's not one of these like 175 pounders out there. He's got some size, really smart. That's what Baker Mayfield's been saying. And I saw some nice man coverage wins against Mike Sanders, still the Georgia secondary, on tape as well. So yeah, this is probably one of the guys where initially He's probably going to be on your bench, but anything happens, and I think he's an immediate riser out there. I think there is a
could
chance
even be a slow start for Chris Godwin to the season too. I'm not ruling that
100%.
out.
Oh yeah, and he might be so good that the target shares are a little bit closer to like 25, 22, 20 percent, and then obviously Emeka Ibuka can get there, especially during the bye week. So yeah, my upside comp for him was like Cooper Kupp. I think that he can end up being like Tyler Boyd or somewhere in between those two. But he was an excellent football player at Ohio State, the most receptions all time at Ohio State, and even last year against Jeremiah Smith, who's one of the craziest prospects receiver, still had more receptions than that freakazoid. So yeah, really good player.
And look, I don't know everything about new OC Josh Grizzard, but he was an internal hire. And when you read through people connected to the team, they say that Grizzard had a ton of responsibility on third downs. I'll give you a guess. Where do you think the Bucs ranked on third downs last year across the NFL?
Well, I've watched too much Jalen McMillan and Chris Godwin and Bucky Irving tape. It's got to be third.
Number one last year in third down conversion percentage at over 51%. So if he can even still remain in the top 5, I think Grizzard can do a really good job here. So here's my decree though. No more rookies the rest of this list. There are a lot of other rookies I would have wanted to talk about. Someone like Trey Harris, for example, because being attached to Justin Herbert could be a lot of fun. And maybe we didn't see everything that Trey Harris could do with the Ole Miss Rebels, but no more rookies on this list. Okay.
That's fair enough. I got a couple guys that are on the rookie contract or right after.
Give me another one.
Rashid Shaheed. He's really good at football, man. Every single time I watch his tape, I go back and just like, am I misremembering what he's doing? And he just runs right by everybody. And then he can also stop on a dime and work backwards towards the football. Last year, he only had 6 games out there, but 87% of the routes, a 25% target share, 50% of the air yards. It was a different offense, but I'm actually kind of optimistic about what this version of this offense could look like, because last year the Saints only had 10 wide receiver screens the entire year. That was dead last. If you look at Kellen Moore back in 2023 with that Chargers, they were the 6th most. When he was with the Dallas Cowboys, they were about league average there. So there's wide receiver screens available. And I don't think that's Chris Olave's game. I do think that could be Rashid Shaheed's game. And that's just like an added layer to this Rashid Shaheed profile. Even if he's just this downhill, just post, goes, big comeback and out route guy, he's still viable. We saw him last year. And this injury, which I think is probably in the back of people's minds right now, it was a full meniscus repair. Don't love that, but he's already running, cutting, practicing at full speed. All the reports have been awesome. He's a great guy with a lot to prove, because this contract situation he finds him in. So yeah, there's quarterback issues, but if Tyler Shuck is a little bit better than people think, I think that Rashid Shaheed could be somebody that's going to be maybe more of a volatile guy, but somebody that could be in the flex category.
And Kellen Moore has coached, 3 different offenses over the last 3 years, and his pace of play is just super high. He runs a ton of plays offensively. I'm not so concerned of the likes of, Brandon Cooks out there, or Kevin Austin Jr. or Bub Means or Cedric Wilson to take away for Rashid Shaheed if he is healthy entering this year. Like you said, through 6 games, 20 receptions, 349 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He was a top 30 producer in a points per game when it came to fantasy points, because 6 of those contests, in 3 of them, he was the wide receiver 13 or better on any given week. And we're able to draft that right now as wide receiver 55 and the very end of round 9. I mean, could you pencil in 100 plus targets? If we get 100 plus targets for Rashid Shaheed, he is going to prove to people that he actually has an all-around wide receiver game rather than just running in a straight line and people seeing these cool, explosive vertical shots, which, by the way, are awesome, and they attribute and contribute a lot to fantasy points too.
Yeah, and no Taysom Hill this year because of injuries. So that's a lot of gadget stuff that's up for grabs here. If something happens to Olave or to Kamara, you see somebody that can be fully integrated in the offense. But I do think that Kellen Moore is just going to want to get the ball out a little bit more than this huge Derek Carr under center play action where there were just not that many pass attempts here. I can see pass attempts going up a tier, and then Rashid Shaheed throwing getting the ball underneath a little bit.
Short drives did attribute and go towards, Rashid Shaheed having long touchdowns. They opened the season with 44 and 47 points scored, but I'm with you. He's actually good at the game. And I don't know if people appreciate how good at the game Rashid Shaheed can be, and hopefully he can kind of prove that, especially now that he's off the restricted free agent / exclusive rights free agent hell when good wide receivers don't get paid. And he finally now has gotten paid. Okay, before we go any further, I have a challenge for you. One, I already told you to subscribe to the channel. Over 150,000, hopefully, by the time the season kicks off. We appreciate everyone who watches and hits that subscribe button. And two, we have launched an Instagram account. Just search right now on your phone. It is UD Football Show. We are posting content there that doesn't even hit this YouTube channel. So if you want to be in the know, get it on the go and follow us over on Instagram. Okay, my next name, Xavier Leggett, wide receiver 65. The 6th pick of the 13th round. Quickly, Hayden, you're more in the know than I am, but I feel like we're getting real wide receiver energy from XL this offseason. Going from Glorilla's muse, let's say, for her single, to helping a friend get out of a lake of quicksand in an ATV. It's like every other week we're getting something with Xavier Leggett that has to matter at least to the wide receiver position more than any other spot.
Yeah, he was basically like a model for that cover there. It would be nice to mix in a couple on-field storylines, but the vibes are strong. Everyone seems to absolutely love this guy, and what a dog.
I mean, you joke about on-field stuff. He also has routes on air with Route God over on Instagram, if you care about that stuff. But for real, I know this isn't a popular opinion, but I actually do believe that Xavier Leggett has clear areas where he wins on an NFL field. Like, he runs powerful out and in breaking routes, uses legit strength to get through corners at the top of those routes, creating plenty of separation. And to me, those are some of the best throws that Bryce makes in terms of anticipatory throws towards the sideline. And then we pointed out multiple times during the season in Stats versus Film, he was a legit weapon in the low red zone. Like, he won an awesome 1-versus-1 route for a touchdown against Patrick Surtain, did it multiple times last year versus the New Orleans Saints. And so there are clear positives, but at the same time, he's one of the easiest players out there that you can pinpoint the clear areas that he needs improvements as well. Like, he didn't make a single athletic contested catch last season, where he did, I think, a little bit more often during his times at South Carolina. He still didn't connect on like a single vertical route. Some of that was on the quarterback, some of that was on him. And so I just think he's going to be allowed to be more athletic this year, not be asked to be this stationary X player, get moved around a bit more often, get aided. And I'm not going down. I'm not quitting on him. I just think that he is still a talented player that just had a rough rookie season. And I'm willing to take him again in the 13th round right now.
Yeah, I hope that with Tetero and McMillan like occupying that X receiver role, he's going to have the more difficult routes, and then they can kind of settle Xavier Leggett down a little bit. I'm with you. He deserves more manufactured touches. He also has to be a little bit more reliable catching the ball to earn those. But I think that's going to be his avenue here as the secondary or third option in the pass game, and hopefully his ADOT goes down a little bit, and they give him a couple explosive opportunities in the screen game. But yeah, I'm waiting for him to hang out with Sexy Red before I can start moving him up. My rankings Glorilla doesn't like fully move the needle for me, though. You do have to respect it.
There is a chance that he is the latest player that everyone just focuses in on the drops and realize that those aren't necessarily sticky and those can improve year to year. Because if he just didn't have the drops last year, we'd be thinking of his rookie season very differently.
What about his wrist injury? What's the backstory on this too?
I guess it's a non-story. It naturally healed itself.
Maybe
Glorilla healed it.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Glorilla healed it. Now, I did bring up this Panthers wide receiver. I do want to just mention that another Panthers receiver has done this 2 years in a row. I opened the show with Adam Thielen. 2 years ago, he was drafted as the wide receiver 66, finishes the wide receiver 31 in points per game. Last year was drafted as the wide receiver 69, finishes the wide receiver 23. You can again draft him in the wide receiver 60-ish range at this moment. He's kind of old man Tyler Lockett that we all just continue to underrate him, think like the cliff is here, where the cliff hasn't necessarily appeared in terms of fantasy points per game.
Yeah, Adam Thielen very unlikely to be on a Glorilla cover. That's for sure. But also we mentioned Jalen Coker as well as like another viable like Panthers wide receiver. There's truly are 4 wide receivers for Carolina this year that are truly battling the same out. But they want it to be Tetero McMillan first, then Xavier Leggett, and then the rest of these group.
Wide receiver 70 right now over on Underdog Drafts. Adam Thielen is. So if you want to draft him, again, you can go and take a look at best ball. Hopefully not for the very first time, but if it is, do yourself a favor. July 4th weekend is the perfect time to start your best ball journey. All you do is draft. That is it. There are no waivers. There's no trades. It puts in your best lineup for you on a weekly basis. It's 18 rounds. You get to draft some of your favorite sleepers every single time. There's a tournament for you that ranges from $5 up to a lot more than that, $50, $100, all that type of stuff. So use promo code the show or click the link in the description down below, especially if you live in the great states of Missouri, Georgia, Texas, and California. Okay, 2 more names, then we get out of here. Give me your final sleeper wide receiver for this fantasy football season.
This is my like deep sleeper. You
I
don't even have to.
As well.
Okay, cool. You don't even have to draft him in your redraft league. Just be ready to bounce on the waiver wire. And in best ball in 18-round drafts, he's actually my most drafted player, period, any position. Darius Slayton of the New York Giants. He just signed for $22 million guaranteed this offseason. He's been like contributing NFL Pro for a very long time. It's not just that he got $22 million guaranteed. He's got $16 million on the books for 2026. So this is somebody that the Giants want to be a starting receiver for this team, not just this year, but for multiple years. This is the best quarterback play that he's going to have for his specific skill set throughout his entire career. Russell Wilson last year was the quarterback 2 in adjusted completion percentage on these deep passes where Darius Slayton thrives at. I think that Jackson Dart can throw the ball downfield as well. He's competing with like Jalen Hyatt, who's like putting on weight, which I don't even necessarily like over there. Wan'Dale Robinson does not compete with Darius Slayton. So I think you're going to have some like better in best ball spikes out of Darius Slayton. If something ever happens to Malik Neighbors, I do feel pretty good that Darius Slayton is just going to be somebody that can kind of be the adult in this room here. So he's a near full-time player already, but I just think that where Russ thrives is these big downfield passes. And that's where Darius Slayton's been doing. And I went back and watched like all of his long touchdowns throughout his career. The dude could like legitimately run and make some guys miss. So yeah, I think all of this kind of points to like, yeah, there's like a lot of rookies going around him, but Darius Slayton's a guy that just got paid. So we've had like Zay Jones and some other guys who just like got money. And then all of a sudden we're like flex plays throughout the entire season. I can see Darius Slayton being that as long as Russ and Jackson Dart kind of hold down the fort.
Downfield speed, now paired with the quarterback who wants to throw touchdowns to checkdowns. Like that is Russell Wilson's game, is look for these sideline vertical shots. If it's not there, I'm going to check it down to my running back or my tight end. Copy, paste. Darius Slayton has had this crazy journey with the New York Giants that it feels like every training camp for the last 3 years, they've been like, we don't really want to count on him. We'll feed it to Jordan Rodon or an NFL insider and say, oh, he might be on the trade block if someone's interested. And then we get to the 2025 offseason and he signs a massive deal and like he should, like I'm excited for Darius Slayton. Hopefully he's not just one of these big, tall, fast wide receivers that never quite hits the peak that maybe we think he can, but this is the best, I would say, environment for him to do that in comparison to someone like Daniel Jones of the past.
Yeah. Daniel Jones' arm, like of all the problems Daniel Jones had recently, like obviously being on the field, one of them, but his arm like looked shot. So like a lot of these big plays that Darius Slayton would be theoretically running, like was just not realistically going to be throwing the ball to him. So yeah, I feel pretty good about what I watched from Russ in this specific instance, throwing the ball downfield to Darius Slayton.
Okay, I have a deep one. De'Ami Brown, wide receiver 77 in the 16th round right now. Just everyone out there, if you are worried or nervous about how many snaps at wide receiver Travis Hunter is going to play this year, if you are at all nervous, the easy answer is just to draft De'Ami Brown in every single league that you enter. We saw how successful Liam Cohen was with the Bucs one season of designing screens closer to the line of scrimmage and then also explosive plays on these rub routes or pick routes down the field. That is like a perfect encapsulation of who De'Ami Brown is as a player right now. He didn't play, I believe, 50% of the snaps or more until week 13 last year. We saw his best work in the playoffs. He went 5 for 89 and 1, 6 for 98, and then 3 for 42. It was a lot of tunnel screens. It was a lot of vertical routes. And it was a lot of curls. That's kind of it. He signed a 1-year, $10 million deal. Another James Gladstone special, who apparently loved him when he was with his time with the Rams. but according to our friend John Chipley, quote, Brown is one of the most underrated pieces of the Jaguars skill position group. And so I think Travis Hunter is going to play a bunch of wide receiver, like over 80% of the snaps this year. But I know other people are more concerned about that. And if you are, that means this guy, Dyami Brown, only has to compete with a nice role player in Parker Washington. But to be out there in 2 wide receiver sets and a Liam Cohen offense, this is very cheap to invest in that.
Yeah, it was like Cliff and Liam were just like running laps in the screen game over all the other coordinators in the NFL last year. And obviously, it's not a surprise that they found each other here. Just kind of comparing the contract, the $10 million contract for Dyami Brown, that's pretty much exactly what the Texans signed up for with Christian Kirk. And look at the ADP differences between them. So he's similar to Darius Slayton. Like, this is a guy that was paid by this regime just a couple months ago. He's going to be on the football field. So yeah, whether it ends up being 67% or 90% of the snaps for Travis Hunter, there's still going to be a third wide receiver out there more times than not looking at that depth chart. And I think it's going to be Dyami Brown out there. So hopefully the screen game kind of meshes. I think that's going to be the one thing I'm trying to figure out with this Jacksonville team because their offensive line is way worse than Tampa Bay. So Liam Cohen's going to have to figure that out, but maybe that just means more tunnel screens, bubble screens to the outside and getting the ball into Dyami Brown's hands. And the last thing I saw in my YouTube algorithm, a Dyami Brown YouTube channel keeps popping up. He's hanging out with
support the
Lawrence.
YouTubers,
He's going
man.
to Bahamas. Yeah, but like he's in this team, like he's feeling good. The vibes are high. He's trying to get that Travis Hunter SEO money. But just the fact that he's out there on vacation with these guys, I think's a good sign.
And like you said, the Bucs were 8th last year in terms of 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver set alignment at nearly 72% of the snaps. So like we should think of him in those 3 wide receiver sets, but there's even a chance that he sees a bunch of 2 wide receiver set action next year too. This is just an offense I want pieces of. Again, when I'm trying to search for these late round sleepers at wide receiver, it's top half offenses and even potential top 10 offenses that bring discounts on. And the Jaguars are right up there for me. Did you come with any other names that like you wanted to include in this list, but we just couldn't? Like Darnell Mooney goes 1 pick before this line at wide receiver 47. But 2, and I almost feel better about the 16th, 17th, 18th round wide receivers this year than I have ever in the past. Adonai Mitchell, just from like an individual talent upside player, if something ever happened to, let's say, Michael Pittman Jr. or again, Josh Downs, I think he's in a nice situation this year. And then Tutu Atwell, the same exact contract that Dyami Brown got, Tutu Atwell received like a day ahead of time with the LA Rams. We know that it's Puka Nacua. We know that it's Devontae Adams. But Tutu Atwell, when he's on the field, Sean McVay loves to scheme him up on these quick, short, or speed fly motions to get him free releases. And then it's just inside breakers, curl routes, vertical routes. And so whenever he does catch a pass, these are chunk gains. And that's a decent size investment for someone that we viewed previously as kind of a bust in the second round with $10 million.
Yeah, I've been drafting some Tutu and Dyami Brown. Other guys like Michael Wilson and Cedric Tillman, we just talked about those 2 players with Matt Harmon, but those are some late round sleeper types as well. And then the guy like that just missed the list, like to me, is just simply Michael Pittman. Like the dude is like on 100 catch pace whenever he's been healthy before that injury, and he's like in the wide receiver 40s. So let's draft some Colts players. But yeah, there's a couple dart throws down this late, and a couple of the guys are getting paid over $10 million being available in the 16th, 17th, 18th round. To me, like I'm just keeping it easy and just going with those guys.
I would love to hear from all of you. We read every single comment that you guys put down below. So give us your favorite wide receiver sleepers ahead of this fantasy season. Again, they have to be wide receiver 48 or later over on Underdog. We will be talking a whole bunch about these rookie wide receivers once we reach training camp openings in late July, early August. So, Luther Burden could fit in here. Jack Besh could fit in here. I know people are getting excited about Dante Thornton in Las Vegas as well. So just keep your eye on those names. We will be doing the exact same thing. So that's why you need to be subscribed to the channel on top of it. All right. That's going to do it. Again, subscribe to the channel and go and follow us on Instagram, UD Football Show. Shout out to you, Hayden. Shout out to the chat, the viewers. Shout out to Weaves and Mo Show. We'll talk to you on the next one, and go and check out the other sleeper videos that we have on the channel right now.